Kindly settle down. Uh, I really salute to all the people who are assembled here. I must tell you, you are all very bold because many people got scared to come here today because of the rains and brave hearts. Yes, brave hearts, and I really appreciate it because this clearly shows how much you are interested in management and the thoughts what is being shared to you by MMA. And I can assure you, at the end of the day, you won't be disappointed, and those who have not come personally and not watched the program will be disappointed. You can tell them not to worry. All our recordings are available. They can just log into my YouTube channel and watch it. So before we move on to the evening program, we are expecting some more people have just given us a call. They got stuck. They are coming, and so we'll have some more people joining us this evening. I thought I'll share with you what's happening in MMA. But particularly in MMA, we did some work. There are some people who really suffered across the road, were staying in different locations, in slums and waterlogged. But the people who stay there, they really suffered. We know that, and we gave them accommodation at MMA. They stayed for 2-3 days here. We Sinduri also sponsored. A couple of other people, Rotary sponsored. We gave them some food, and now they all gone back to. Yeah, these are some of the pictures how we are taking care of them. Some of the pictures what has been given to them, food and various things what we gave to them. Idea is to that is a belief of MMA, the members of MMA, that we must extend the helping hand wherever possible. We make them settle down, and most of them are settling down and being a good neighbor. We took care of them. Yes, some people have a different opinion about this, but at the end of the day, we don't differentiate in that class whether you are rich not suffering or poor not suffering. Suffering is suffering, and many of us who are staying in a decent multi-storied flats, they are living without food now. So the suffering cannot be defined by which class you belong to. So that way, we did a small bit of it. Thanks to our president, MMA, and the managing committee members. And before I will formally move on to the evening talk, let me tell you what's happening in MMA so that you don't miss them. Whether rain or no rain, we are doing it. But tomorrow there's a lovely program. You don't have to worry to come to MMA. This program is online program. Seminar on China and the emerging world order. We got an outstanding panel again. Ambassador Ashok Kanta is a former ambassador to China. Then we got Srikant Kodapalli is again from JNU University. He's the Dean of School of International Affairs. And also we got Indrani Bakshi. She is the Chief Executive Officer. She is the former head of Times of India. Then we got Ananda Krishnan. He is a special correspondent with the Hindu Hong Kong. Then we have Satyamurthy. It's a good, lovely panel. It's happening online tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Those first 100 we can check in, log in at Zoom. The rest of the people can watch it through our webinar, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all that. So it's a really very, very good subject. What we are going to discuss is China and the emerging world order. Consequent discussion what happened between Joe Biden, the president of China. Then we thought they're the best of the enemies. They're not getting along well. They are joining together, thinking about collaboration, thinking about military operations together, much more. So we should be very, very careful about China +1, plus much more. The people who are expert are going to talk to us. It's good to listen to what's happening in terms of us around the world. On 11th of December, this is again not to be missed event, the 5th R.K. Swamy Memorial Lecture, Heritage is Our Pride. And this is again, we got two outstanding speakers, Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. D.K. Hema Hari. They have done some phenomenal work, research and founders of Bharat Gyan. They are going to be talking to us. This is happening on 11th. On 14th of December, we have again, as usual, a monthly Read and Grow series, lessons from risk and opportunities in living a good life. We got again outstanding panel led by Babu, Sridhar and Bharat. Then on 18th of December, we have again a talk on AI, challenges with the AI technology. We have got Pranjal Patak from Lucknow Management Association, and also Mr. Balaji from E&Y will be talking to us on that. 19th, this is again not to be missed event. This event again happening live, rocketing through the skies, an eventful life in ISRO. And we have a speaker none other than Mr. Madhavan Nair. You all know him, Madhavan Nair. He's going to be talking to us. And Das IAS is a former member finance of space, atomic energy, and also presently advisor to ISRO. He's going to chair this session. Note, this event is happening at 11 o'clock in the morning. Madhavan Nair is quite a senior person. He's not able to come in the evening, he's not able to come in person. So we said, whatever time you wanted, sir, we'll host it. He said 11 o'clock, I will host it. I think 11 o'clock suits many of us, no? Just before lunch, listen to one of the finest scientists India has ever had, Madhavan Nair, true gentleman. And you must read the book, what he wrote also. You get to know what are the fine scientists we have today, where ISRO is today. These are the people who contributed. Then 21st December, again an international speaker, AI for businesses. We have Gopi Kalyali. He is a chief business analyst and also advisor AI Google from USA. He's going to be here with us. And not to miss, it's happening in person here. Then on 4th January, we have a discussion on dance of disruption. Again, we have an outstanding panel. Nandanand Kishore, former CEO of Nestle worldwide, and Neeraj, former CEO of Britannia. Trilochan Sastry is the founder of Crayon Data. We have Mali, Lakshmi Narayanan, Shubha Kumar, and Mr. Balraman, part of our committee, joint discussion. Then we also have on the 8th of January, again a very interesting book, Beyond Three Generations, the definitive guide to the building and enduring Indian family businesses. We strongly believe family businesses are very, very important today. They are the one who brought up, but the result and study shows after 3 generations, the family business don't sustain for whatever reasons and how things are not happening the way it should happen. We have got the outstanding people who are going to be talking to us on this. Mr. C.K. Ranganathan, he is past president of MMA and also chairman managing director of Kevin Care. We have got 2 other outstanding speakers, Mr. Nawaz Miran and also Mr. S.A. Kumar. Nawaz Miran is a Miran group of companies in Kerala, very leading businessman. Then on Friday, we have an event on banking reforms and financial inclusion. Then 29th January, we have Dr. V. Narayanan endowment lecture. It's happening on Monday, the 29th January. We have a speaker, again, outstanding speaker, Gopal Vittal, the CEO of Airtel is going to be talking to us. So I think I've waited enough for the people to come. I think now we'll go down with the topic for this evening, reforming democratic processes, challenges and opportunities. And I can tell you, we are all indeed blessed to have an outstanding speaker who is going to be talking to us this, and a short while from now, I will introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the speaker for this evening, Professor Trilochan Sastry, former Dean of Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, Chairman of the Association of Democratic Reforms. To chair the session, we have Mridula Ramesh, CEO of Sundaram Climate Institute and also member of the MMA Management Committee. May I request you please take your place on the dais, madam. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause to our panelists. We must tell them why I said they need, because Dr. Sastry has come all the way from Bangalore in spite of all the thing. Mridula has traveled all the way from Delhi to be with us this evening. I think that requires a big round of applause. So let me warmly welcome all the people who are watching this program live on all our channels, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also live on MMA Radio. As usual, if you have any questions, please share your questions and it will be all collated and placed before the chairperson of this evening to answer. I'm quite sure you're all safe and we get a lot of inputs because our team connected with most of the members and almost 50% of the members still living at home and unable to move for various reasons. Not at the moment, there's no water. Because of the impact what had happened, they're still recovering from the aftershock of the impact to them or to the family members. They are near and so stay safe. And I'm quite sure the Chennai will really get to move on this one. We'll have some experts like Mridula and all who will give us some solution how to come out of this. I think we already had a couple of sessions on that. We'll have that. And very warm welcome to you again, all the viewers watching, in addition to members from all the places. Let me also welcome all the people who are here this evening to be with us. Your presence makes all the difference and you're coming here. As usual, if you have any questions, the questions will be passed on to you. Please share your questions and the panel is very, very... and I must thank at the outset itself, Mridula Ramesh for facilitating this talk actually. And to getting us Dr. Trilochan Sastry to speak on this subject, which is very relevant. As a person who we strongly believe in democracy nothing but we believe that people elect the leaders and contribute to the national well-being. And democracy has got so many forms, and is it getting eroded, is it getting improved, and there's so many questions about our democracy. You all watch newspapers, you read news, you watch televisions, and so many news when you hear. At times you wonder what's happening to our democracy, but all this is happening because we are a democratic country. So people can talk, people can discuss, people can do so many things happening. So we are all privileged to be in part of India, such a beautiful country with all democratic norms held very high, and we are always believing we should be proud of our association with the great country like India. So before I request Mridula Ramesh to take it forward, let me have the privilege of introducing distinguished speaker and the chairperson for this evening. Let me introduce Mridula Ramesh. Mridula Ramesh, not new to audience here. She is an acclaimed author of Climate Solution and Watershed, and both the books we had a discussion at MMA. Is a founder of Sundaram Climate Institute, specializing in waste and water solutions. As an active, as a clean tech angel investor with a diverse portfolio, she fosters climate tech entrepreneurship initiatives. She is also a graduate of Cornell University, USA, and MBA from Kellogg School of Business. Mridula is also executive director of Sundaram Textiles and trustee of World Wildlife Fund India, based at Madurai. She leads nearly net zero waste lifestyle and serves as a visiting faculty at Great Lakes Institute of Management, and she also a member of the MMA Management Committee. She chairs our MMA Women Convention Committee and planning to bring out some outstanding convention this year. Very warm welcome to you. Pleasure to have you with us. It is indeed my privilege to introduce Professor Trilochan Sastry. I had a privilege of interacting with him for a few minutes because he came a little earlier from Bangalore. I got really get inspired by talking to him and his clarity of thoughts and the way he talks about various issues. Really fantastic, and you're all blessed to be here this evening to listen to him in person. And Professor Trilochan Sastry is a former Dean Academics from IIM Bangalore. Is a political activist and also chairman of the Association of Democratic Reforms with a PhD from MIT, USA, and his expertise spans decision science, supply chain, and operations. As a prolific author, he has contributed to international journals and developed management cases on ethics, change management, and electoral reforms. Recognized for his civil society work, he has been received prestigious awards including CNN, IBN, NDTV, Times of India, Indian of the Year. Currently, he is a faculty member of IMB. He is also engaged in pro bono work with the NGO and development sector. He has also written some lovely book on Indian religion and Hinduism, and I think it's a must read. You all want to know something about Hinduism. I'm quite sure he will cover in his speech what he wrote about, why it's a must read. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and listening to this evening wonderful thing which you're all anticipating as much as I am also eagerly waiting. Very warm round of applause to the distinguished chairperson and the speaker. It's a pleasure to have you with this evening. Forward to you. You can speak from there itself. Yes. Thank you.
So it's my very great honor and privilege to be joining this session with Dr. Trilochan Sastry. I first got to know of him through my husband, who was a student 2 decades ago, and one of the finest thinkers of our democracy. I think his organization is the one through legal means got the Supreme Court to say that our political leaders have to declare their assets. So I think my mother and my mother's family are all doctors. I'm a microbiologist by training. So, you always say sun is the best disinfectant. And when you transfer that insight into politics and democracy, transparency is the best thing to make any organization or any institution survive. When he was talking about the future programs, he was, group captain was talking about China, the China +1. I don't think I would want to live in China, and I really, despite all the press you hear about Indian democracy going down, etc., it's something I deeply value, and I think it's really good to see how it can sustain going forward. And every institution like democracy is as strong as its processes, systems, controls, which I think is going to be what the subject of our conversation today. I'll just say one last word and then hand it over to our chief guest. The book, I've used his ADR studies extensively in my water book and studying the political economy of water. It's fascinating. I think there is direct relevance to what is happening in Chennai this past week. We'll go through that. But the book I really enjoyed is this Hinduism book. It's fabulous. I would strongly recommend it. And it gives structure. And as I said, structure and process are good for everything, understanding anything. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me out there? Yeah, first of all, it's my honor to be here, and I would like to thank her and group captain and MMA. We hear that this is the best management association in the country. So 15 years, and she said they have been formally banned from applying for the best award or something like that. So it is really an honor to be here. The topic that was given to me after some discussion, of course, is on strengthening democracy. So I want to make a couple of comments before it's not about what we do. For last several days, one has been thinking that such a distinguished group, and everybody votes, everybody is a Democrat, everybody knows what democracy is. What can we say to a group like this? So that is still I have not answered that question in my head. But I'm going to actually seek your advice either through questions or comments or even later, and we can be connected online. So that is the spirit in which we are talking. Now, those things are there. Yeah, a little bit. I will not go through them in great detail, but okay. So everybody has left me in the lurch here. Yeah, you can go to the first slide. Yeah. So before I start, we keep having such discussions around the country, and what we find is the people who discuss these issues are the least likely to vote. And the people who vote are least likely to attend such discussions because they just stand in line and vote. This is one fundamental contradiction. If you have any advice on that, I would like to. So one is, of course, do politics, elections, campaigns affect the country? So I was just watching, that after the elections in the last 4 states, the Adani Group stocks in the last 4 days, every day are hitting the upper circuit. So it definitely affects the share market, if nothing else. And does it have an impact on society? Does it have the potential to make life? You see, another comment which you may like to think about it is that people like us, I include myself in this category, we live in a pretty good world compared to many Indians, and it doesn't matter to us who wins or loses except on the margin. Our life goes on the same. But the vast majority of people, their life actually changes in many ways, right from local elections to state elections, etc. And just to give you an example, I'm not proposing that this is good or bad. I'm not making a comment on. In Karnataka, they promise free bus passes to women and a bunch of other things. And the number of women going to temples, and that famous temple, where they go and worship Shiva, it's gone through the roof because they just get into a bus and go for free. So it affects their life. That's the point I'm making. But it doesn't affect your life or my life or the life of our family members. And does it have the potential to make life? Yes. So I'm not going to get into theoretical definition, but just to refresh ourselves, there are hundreds of definitions. So each one of us will have a definition of what democracy is, and each one of us will have a view on whether it's good or bad. So we will just use a well-known phrase, by the people, for the people, of the people, famous thing by Abraham Lincoln. And we use another statement that no office in the land is more important than that of being a citizen. Let me just make a few comments. Most of the people that we talk to feel that democracy is very good. We also feel democracy is very good. But we are not fully satisfied. We think that we can improve democracy. There are some problems in all democracies, including our democracy. So many issues are there. We are divisive. We like this party. We don't like that party. We are Tamilians. We are Hindiwalas. We are so many other people. We are this caste, this religion. And we furiously fight with each other in the public domain on various issues. And using that nature of society, the political parties also play up something or the other. And then money, power, muscle power. Tamil Nadu, we hear, is a leading light in the amount of money spent in elections, perhaps because it is one of the most prosperous states also, and a lot of money is distributed. All these things that doesn't mean democracy is bad, it just means that democracy has to improve. So I will just pause there and ask a simple question. How is this democracy going to improve? if it requires improvement. So question is, will the system correct itself? Will the political system and the politicians correct themselves? Our friend here is shaking his head. The Supreme Court cannot run democracy. It can intervene here and there. The Supreme Court is not going to do anything about it. The corporates also are unable to do anything. The NGO, the media, who is there? So we felt 20, 25 years ago that we the people, of the people, we have to do something. Even if it is unsuccessful, it is our responsibility as citizens, as people who like India and whatever, that we have to do something about it. So that is the background, and it still stands. We may not have succeeded, but we still feel that all of us, to the extent possible, have to do whatever we can. So that's the point I was just trying to make through this. And is it working well today? So I'll show you a slide on this. So, the Association for Democratic Reforms, many of you would have heard of it. We set it up more than 20 years ago in the same institute where my friend sitting here, we were classmates, and in the same institute where Mridula's husband also studied. So we set up that ADR, and what we find in the latest report that we released is that latest Lok Sabha, 44% of sitting MLAs around the country have a criminal record. We did an analysis of 4,001 MLAs around the country. And I'm sorry to tell you that Tamil Nadu is not shining example of probity either. It is just like any of the other states. Maybe it's marginally better than some of the other states, but and 43% of sitting members of parliament have a criminal record. Now, I'm not making a sensational statement. Let me qualify it. We went to the Supreme Court and asked the Supreme Court that all of us, including you and me, have a right as citizens to know something about who are the people we are voting for. So back in 2003, the Supreme Court declared, yes, voters, that is you and I, have a constitutional right to know the background of candidates, and the candidates, through a sworn affidavit, will have to file this information with the Election Commission. So it's about as kosher as it can get. So these are self-declared information of the candidates themselves, which we download from the Election Commission and do some analysis. We do some IT and report generation, etc. So that's where this data is coming from. This is not a sensational statement. Nobody has challenged it. If it was a wrong statement, it would have been hauled up for some defamation or something. It's not happened. And it has doubled from 2004, when we first started this activity, to now, to about from 22 to 43. So what can be done? That's why I'm scratching my head, and we are looking for some advice. And as I said, who will do it? That I'm not. So here is a global integrity report. Now, we are a very proud and at the same time hypersensitive nation. We are proud to be Indians. We are proud that we are doing extremely well globally. But whenever a report comes from outside the country which seems to criticize us, we become hypersensitive. So the Global Integrity Report says that India struggles with promoting transparency and accountability and in the financing of political parties. And Transparency International's 2010 Global Corruption Barometer, political parties are perceived by Indian citizens, not by foreigners, as one of the most corrupt institutions. That's no news. I mean, we all have the same opinion. So I'm just trying to quote large international studies which have come up with something which we need to think about. So I'm not going to actually speak about the history of ADR. What I'll do is, this is just, we have a huge amount of media coverage, so I'm just scrolling through it. So the one which is highlighted, I know enough Tamil to know that it is in the Tamil script. I don't know, and it is from Vigadan. And then below that is Malayalam, etc. So we have a lot of coverage of the reports that we send out, in all the languages. Of course, English is the highest, then you have Hindi, and so on. So point I'm making is YouTube, Twitter, this, that, etc. And we have 120 cases. So my question is, in spite of all our efforts, things are not improving. So if you have any ideas, we would like to hear from you. So what we do is the following. Just this is something that many of us may not know. We have won about 20 cases in the Supreme Court since 2002 or 3. And the original judgment which kick-started our work is this. So that 43% criminal record we're talking about is based on this Supreme Court judgment, which you can read. So these are 5 mandatory disclosures, and every candidate in every election has to give this. Their past criminal convictions, the cases in which charges have been framed, their assets, liabilities, and their educational background. So what they of course carefully do not publicize this. They just file it and hope that everybody will forget. I'm sorry to say the Election Commission also does not publicize it. It is left to us. So all these press reports which I just showed you, these press reports are based on the affidavits that the candidates give. So my question to you is, and I'm sure Mridula will ask more questions, is that in spite of this, why are the number of people with criminal record doubling in India? Are we an amoral country, or we think the cases are false, or we don't care if somebody has a criminal record, but we like him because he or she is from my caste, my religion, my language, whatever, identity-based politics. So this is a sample of some PILs. Last month we just, after 6 years, the Supreme Court heard, we were the lead petitioners on the electoral bonds. If there are questions, we'll go to that. World over, just to compare, election campaign financing is the hot button topic. Everywhere in the world, they feel that election campaign financing has to be regulated, controlled to actually make democracy work better. For obvious reasons, which I'm sure all of us understand. In India, we don't have a set of laws, and we have actually moved backward with the electoral bonds. Electoral bonds have made it opaque. We don't know who is funding whom and how much, and the law allows you to do that under electoral bonds. So that is the petition we're talking about. And I can go on and on. So there are some 20 cases that we have won. This is our mission to improve governance and strengthen democracy. And these are the 4 activities we do. We do something called Election Watch. Election Watch is really, we have state chapters, include actually in Tamil Nadu. Our coordinator here is a professor in IIT Madras, and he's a top musician. So he's gone to some kacheri. So that's why otherwise he would have been here. And we analyze this data, and we focus on the non-English media, because people who speak English don't vote, and people who vote generally don't speak English. So we try to reach them through the regional media. So that's what Election Watch does. We do an analysis and send it around the country, and TV, media, social media, newspapers and all, they cover all this, try to inform the voters about this. And we also have Facebook, all the digital stuff that we can think of, we're trying to do, but maybe we can do it better. Another is Political Party Watch. You'll be surprised to know that in all leading democracies in the world, the accounts and finances, donations of political parties are mandatorily 100% transparent. In India, it's not so. In fact, the electoral bonds is a case where they have made it more opaque. So, Political Party Watch, we had to fight for several years, and we finally got one judgment which says that the income tax department shall release the information of the finances of political parties. We do our analysis and keep bringing out reports. It is touching the tip of the iceberg, because what the political parties declare is in a few thousand crores, but what you hear, and many of you would have heard, a lot of money which is spent and money which is put in envelopes and slipped under the door. Tamil Nadu is a leading example of that. That kind of thing, the actual amount of money we estimate is about 5 or 10 times that. So obviously, what the political parties are declaring in their audited statements are. And through our efforts, what happened is that we found that they are using single entry cash accrual a cash-based system, not a double entry accrual system, which is the best practice. In fact, I was just talking to group captain and he says that you have two auditors. You have two auditors and all your accounts are following the most modern and best accounting practices. The political parties were not doing that. So once it came out, the Election Commission appointed ICAI, Indian Chartered Accountants India Association of India, and they made a study and they suggested to the Election Commission that these are the norms that the political parties would have to follow, and now the Election Commission has enforced that they should at least follow good accounting practices. We didn't even have that. Then information dissemination is another thing we do, and then advocacy. There are various, it's a long story, we advocate for various changes. If there are questions, we can discuss that. And I think I'm running out of time. I just want to close this with a couple of thoughts we have, because this is a matter which everybody has to think and advise. Of course, you are welcome to join also. If not, at least advise. Why are we like this? I don't know the answer, but here are some thoughts. So I feel that where are we as a society? There are a few things that stand out about India as we speak now. One is, of course, the well-known thing that India is the most diverse country in the world. I've looked at various surveys. There are somewhere between 500 and 1,000 languages spoken in India. I currently live in Karnataka. Everybody thinks that people speak Kannada, but they speak Tulu, they speak Konkani, and they speak half a dozen tribal languages. There are more than 500 languages or dialects spoken in India. And we are very proud of our mother tongue. Imagine 500 groups of people being proud of their mother tongue and saying, my mother tongue is better than yours. I don't know where that is going to, where that is heading. Then we have, the English word is caste, but the traditional word is jati. There are more than 3,000 jatis in India. Potters, fishermen, people who climb trees and tap toddy and you name it. I mean, there are 3,000 jatis in India. We identify ourselves with our jati. I was talking to one taxi driver, the then Chief Minister of Haryana, the ex-Chief Minister of Haryana, had been arrested and put in jail for a 3,000 crore scam. So I asked him, what do you think? Because, we are into this. I want to know what ordinary. He was a smart young fellow wearing jeans, t-shirt. He had a smartphone and all. And he kept defending the Deputy Chief Minister. Then I suddenly had a flash. I said, "Tu Jat hai kya? Are you a Jat?" He said, "Of course I'm a Jat." I said, "Is that why you're supporting this guy?" He says, "Yeah, that's why I'm supporting him." So all modernism and phones, everything goes out of the window because I will support him because he's a Jat. Lot of people in India think like this, unfortunately. This is identity-based politics. So we have jati, we have language. Of course, every religion in the world is there in India. Of course, the major religion is Hinduism. And, whatever it is, 80% are Hindus. But India is the second largest population of Muslims. We have a large number of Christians. We have Jews. We have Buddhists. You have Parsis. There is no religion. Even Jews are there in India. There is no religion which is not represented in India. So we are very diverse. Secondly, we find that apart from diversity, India, which we are not noticing, is undergoing a huge churn. 45% of Indians are in internal migration. You are all in Chennai. How many Hindi walas now are floating around in Chennai? Earlier, the taxi drivers would refuse to speak in Hindi. Now, when they see somebody like me, they assume that I must be a North Indian. I'm not, by the way. And they'll say, "Sir, aiye sir, humko meter pe chalenge, sir." The Tamil fellow is telling. I believe in Kerala, they are having bus signs in Hindi because the Biharis are there. 45% of Indians are under migration. Number one. Number two, they are flung far away from their traditional family. Most of them are from rural background. Their traditional family norms, whatever, UP, Bihar, Orissa, Bengal, wherever they are from, they are gone. They're just floating around here doing some construction work, taxi driving, whatever work they can do, they are doing. So the traditional society norms are going away. Third is, of course, the mobile phone. At one point, we read, I don't know what is the latest, that the most downloaded songs were in Bhojpuri. So somebody did a study, they found that Bihari fellows are the maximum migrants. They're going all over the country. So our society as we speak is, and then these mobile phones have got news, entertainment, good news, bad news, fake news, everything, everything is there. Huh? TikTok, whatever is there. And this young chap, mostly male, he comes to Tamil Nadu or Chennai from Bihar or something. This is his favorite friend. He'll listen to Bhojpuri song and he or she does not know how to distinguish between real news and fake news. We also sometimes can't. So this is the churn that is going on. So we have a diverse society. We have a huge churn. And I'm sorry to inform you that while there are a lot of well-to-do people, most of them sitting here, the World Inequality Report says that the inequality index in India is rising. Now, at one point, there were rich and poor people always down history. But in those days, people didn't know. But now, through WhatsApp and these mobile phones, they intimately know. And when they come from there to Chennai and they see various things, they say, "Arey yaar, these chaps are living a jolly good life. I am bloody living in a room with 4 guys and somehow eking out a living, and I don't like this sambar and rice. I don't know where to get my roti and dal. I don't know what to do." And he's undergoing that change, that exposure to inequality and rising inequality. So we have diversity, we have migration, and we have this rising inequality. Is this in any way affecting politics? My take, again, we need your advice on this, is that when there is so much of rapid change, people look for stability somewhere. There's only so much of change that people can handle. One of the sources of stability is God and religion, whatever our individual views, but this is how the human nature is. And second is leader, political leader. They're looking for some political leader who will solve all their problems. And different political parties are trying their luck on how to entice this group or that group to vote for them. So let me stop here, and once again I will thank you for allowing me to speak here. It's been a great honor. We are looking forward, when I say we, I mean ADR, all our trustees, to your advice now and later.
So I think we've got a whole bunch of questions that have come. But before that, I'll take the privilege of asking a few. And one thing he didn't go through is the details of the ADR survey. They talked to, I think, 2.5 lakh people across every district in India and come up with a set of governance priorities, right? So what do we value in our leaders? And how do we think our leaders have done on it? So I think by now everyone understands that one reason why Chennai sort of goes through this kind of a flooding is because we build over our lakes, right? But interestingly, Professor, when I saw your survey results, that's like the bottom priority. There were 20 governance priorities you'd put in there. The bottommost was encroachment of water bodies. So if I was a politician, I'll just say, it's not valued, so why do I care? And here we are. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, very good question. Before I come to that, I'm glad she raised this. Many years ago, we thought, who decides government policies? The political leaders, the economists, the policymakers, the bureaucrats, they decide. Fine. They are in power, let them decide. But nobody bothers to ask the people of India. So we did 3 rounds of perhaps the largest survey in the world, where we went to all the constituencies and asked people what do they think they want. So as an example, in survey after survey, employment, just good old employment, is coming out as a top priority, and what she's talking about. environment or encroachment is coming at the bottom of this. So to answer your question directly, I am just tempted to go back to some shloka or something from Hinduism. We have something called Smashana Vairagyam. So Smashana Vairagyam means that when you go to the Smashanam, you feel, oh, why are we all this, this is no good. I must think of something deeper, meaningful. I must think of God, whatever. But that Smashana Vairagyam disappears in a day or two. So coming back to your question, when we are floods, it is like going to the Smashanam. Then that Vairagyam goes after that. And you go on with life. Because then other things are more important. It will come after 5 years. Who knows what will happen. That's what I think. The psychology is like that, but I could be wrong.
One more question, and see, when we were broaching the topic, etc., and the question was, we're a management association, and you're a professor of management also. So, I look at democracy as sort of the firmament in which businesses operate. So, for business leaders, what are one or, you mentioned these 4 great points: the diversity, the churn, the fact that people want stability. And I'm trying to simplify this, maybe too simplistic. What are one or two of the things that business leaders should keep in the back of the brain when they think about democracy and the direction in which it's headed?
Very good question. And frankly, you put me on the spot because I personally have enormous respect for business leaders, and many of you are business leaders. And who am I to presume to give advice? So there are 2 types of things in your question. One is, what should they do within their own companies and as leaders? That is one. And what should they do for society and democracy at large?
What should they understand?
What should they understand? So I'm going to take a slightly long-winded route on this business. You see, in the United States, I'm not an unabashed admirer of the United States, but there are some good things there and some not so good. Some ways we are better than them. So when I say something good about the United States, doesn't make me an unabashed admirer of the United States. But there are 1 or 2 things which you notice. Donald Trump appointed a committee of industrial captains or CEOs, 20 of them, to advise him. Because every president does that. Within 6 months, one by one, they all resigned. And they publicly said why. Because they disagreed with the president on many of his statements, policies, and how he behaves, and so on and so forth. So I said, that is democracy in action for the businessmen. Here in India, either the top businessmen are silent, or they are always saying nice things about the people in power. So there is something about the Indian mindset. The Americans, at least on this, they are able to assert their individuality and independence. We are simply unable to do that. This is my, so this is one thing that they should keep. We don't have to be heroes and fight against any government. But we can stick to certain principles which are universally accepted. Be honest, be truthful, do good business, make the business prosperous, and go down that path. We don't have to necessarily, fully align ourselves with any party that comes to power. That is one thing I think it will help increase the tone and discussion in the society enormously. I'm not blaming this government. This used to happen earlier also. When Manmohan Singh, I saw big posters saying that Manmohan Singh should get a Nobel Prize and funded by various. So this tendency is something that we have to see. And secondly, I think most businessmen do that because how you treat your employees. So if you believe in democracy, it doesn't mean that everybody is equal. I mean, it is equal opportunity and treating everybody with respect and dignity, whether he or she is cleaning the toilets or is the CEO or whatever. We have to give that basic dignity to everybody. And I think the good businessmen are already doing that, but more and more need to do it. 2 things I would say, one from the top and one from the bottom.
Thank you for that. We have a number of questions. So I'll ask my privilege of my last question and then go to the questions. See, we've spoken a lot about democracy, but I know that you know that one of the things that really fascinates me is your book on Hinduism. So what got you started on that, and can you give us is there a connection between the two?
In my
Between the
mind, there
interest
is.
in
In my
democracy
mind,
and
there is.
interest in
She is
Hinduism?
talking about this book which was published last year called The Essentials of Hinduism, which is published by Penguin. And for a brief while, I'm doing a bit of marketing. It was on the bestseller list. Now it's being sold in the UK and US. And she claims she has bought more than 100 copies and given it to her friends. So why and what is this, right? In my mind, there is, but it may not be obvious to others. See, basically, at the bottom line, the motivation is spiritual. What does spiritual mean? I just came from Vivekananda house before I came here. One of my heroes is Vivekananda, among many. And he said, Atmano mokshartham jagat hitaya. For one's own soul salvation and for the good of the world. Literally, I think most of us understand that much of Sanskrit. Atmano mokshartham jagat hidaya, I mean for the good of the world. It really inspires me. So this work that we are doing, whether it's for ADR or for the farmers or anything, the real culprit is Vivekananda. I mean, I won't say he is the culprit. I will say that what was already in my mind, he has given a sanction. Yes, young man or not so young man, what you are doing is the correct thing. He has sanctioned it for me. So I don't find any. So it is that is the way the mind works. That is a connection.
Superb. Okay. So we have a whole bunch of questions. I mean, we have how many people online? We have questions from Trichy, Erode, Salem.
I'm impressed that you're able to get them out so fast.
So we've got 580 people online. So the first question is from T.S. Karthik. Are freebies actually fare well to welfare economics? When ruling party gives it, it is welfare. When they're in opposition, they accuse ruling party of giving freebies.
Brilliant question. I think it is that Dharma Sankatam that we see in the Mahabharata also. Ko Dharma something, it starts in the Vishnu Sahasranama. So, on one level, given the inequality in society, the world over, some kind of leg up is given to the poor. Even America has welfare schemes. Are we going too far? That's a question we have to. Are we using it for political gains and competition? You know, this is my favorite quote. Subhash Chandra Bose said, my Bengali is not very good, but I think you will understand. He says, "Tumi amake rakta dao, ami tumake mukti deve." You give me blood, I'll give you freedom. Today, our politicians are saying, "Ami tumake taka deve, tumi amake vote dao." I will give you money, you give me votes. So, freebies or whatever. And it's very hard to draw a line. And then the intellectuals get in, you know, the leftists and the rightists, and this becomes a useless debate. But I think we should seriously think about what kind of freebies are okay. Like, you know, primary education, primary health, basic services like this. But when it comes to giving free this, free that, free bus pass, and go on, then there's a problem.
Including, you know, several lakh crores given in subsidies for crops which are not necessarily grown in the right place.
Yes,
Anyway.
yes. That is your topic. Water. Yeah.
So the next question is from Naveen in Erode. So given your experience as chairman of the Association for Democratic Reforms for so long, how has it shaped your perspective of India's democracy?
Firstly, I mean, it's a very good, simple question, but it deserves a slightly 1 or 2 minutes of response. Firstly, I have great faith in the younger generation. In spite of whatever we may say, the younger generation is more energetic, more aware, more dynamic, more bold, more able to take risks than my generation. We wanted a safe job and we were all good boys or good girls, we didn't do anything. So on that side, I think there is a future and a hope for democracy. On the other hand, I feel the younger generation is actively looking for guidance, which our generation, I'm sorry to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we are failing in that. We are not able to provide the right guidance to young people around the country. We need to do that. So on that is as far as the youth is concerned. I think, it is like that Samudra Manthan in one of the Puranas, first the halahal comes, the poison
Shiva
comes,
takes.
then the Amrutam comes. So we are now churning out poison in our society. I think eventually Amrutam will come. But let's not hold
Amrit
up.
Khan.
It will take some time. Huh? Yeah, let's not, I didn't have that in my mind, but yeah, I don't want to get into that sort of, yeah.
But this is a related question from Lakshana Shri in Chennai. What are your thoughts on the role of youth? What are your thoughts on the role of youth in driving democratic reforms? And how can they be encouraged to actively participate in the political process?
Role of youth.
What can they do?
You see, I think the youth are the most important aspect of democracy today, and I'm happy that she's asking this question. It shows that you're already interested. Firstly, you have to take interest, and number two, you have to inform yourself about various issues. It is not like a cricket match where I support Chennai Super Kings because I am from Tamil Nadu, even though Mahendra Dhoni ko onname Tamil theriyadu. That kind of uninformed way of participating in politics is more emotional. It's not what we want. Please inform yourself, learn about issues, learn about the political system, learn about democracy. Not only our organization, many organizations will be happy to discuss this and then get engaged. Then magic will happen.
The next question is again related. It sort of takes it to the next level. This is from Satya and Erode. What strategies do you recommend for fostering collaboration between government institutions, civil society, and the private sector to address the multifaceted challenges of democratic reforms? Let me sort of elaborate this. Something that's on everybody's mind is the flooding that has taken place.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have to get democracy to start solving this problem, how do the different, in Chennai, how would you get the private sector, civil society, and the government to work together? I've taken this question.
I wish I knew, really, because it's a very important question, and our work with ADR doesn't allow us to answer this based on our track record, but I can give an individual response if that is good enough, because I'm not an expert on this. I think we have to utilize a crisis like this, or whenever and we need leadership. That leadership has to come from civil society, and that leadership has to be willing to put some effort and stick their neck out a bit, because that coordination between the corporate and the civil society and the government will not happen without a catalyst. And that catalyst has to come from civil society. It will not come from the corporate or someone who considers himself or herself and you have to push. Even in ADR, how many things we had to push before the Election Commission and the Supreme Court finally listened. So someone has to push, but when it pushes, it happens. I've seen this in a place like Lucknow, where one of our students, she put 3.5 or 4 lakh children back to school, but through this mechanism of partnering with the government, and she had to push a lot. Someone has to push and make it happen. That's all I can say.
So push by the NGO, support by the other two.
The NGO is there, the civil society is there, but the leadership skill is to galvanize support, because this is an important issue. And that support actually helps you to engage more meaningfully with the government and the political system, because they feel, I'll give you an example. There are many, we work with about 45,000 farmers in Andhra Pradesh, and sometimes the local politicians, they try to extract rent from us. And they send their fellows and they say, a bunch of, it's the same kind of politics everywhere. But then what happens, to answer your question, is the farmers themselves say, sir, we'll chala manchi pani chestunar. They are doing very good work. And there are 25,000 farmers here behind them. Atlaite sare vadalestam. If that is so, then we will leave them alone. So we have to create that engagement with the political and government system where you say that I have got a support, either the Supreme Court or the people or organizations, that takes time to build. Because the issue is very clear what you're saying. I mean, nobody can say, no, we need not do it. But that requires persistence and leadership and gathering support and using that support to lobby. This is what our strategy has been. Hopefully it will work here also.
Just to follow up on that question, this is a question from Radhika and Salem. How can businesses and corporates play a positive role in supporting democratic reforms and good governance?
Wonderful question. So all kinds of things are coming to my mind. You see, not to make too fine a point, politics and elections requires money. Let us be honest about it. You can't expect politicians and political parties to run on love and fresh air. They need money for campaigns, and it's a reality. So we accept that. And where is that money going to come from? One big source is the business. And I'm sure many of you, including her family, they must be approached by political parties for funding. And I think we should fund them. But you have to extract a pound of flesh after funding. It's not, so that is one role you can do. Extract your pound of flesh not for the personal benefit of your business, but for the benefit of society and good governance. In that way, we have to, and again, numbers speak. If you ask individually, they'll get after you. If you have an MMA or a large group of people who first meet online and say, yes, we will all fund political parties, but this is going to be our common demand from this organization or that guy, that we are happy to fund you, sir. We want good politics, we want good politicians, we want good government. But we also have a request that, certain things should improve. Rather than saying, my business benefit, sometimes we lobby on that. So that is one role that the business can play.
Okay. So a lot more questions coming from online. I want to keep 2 more questions.
Chalega.
So we've got more. Okay. So I'm going to, in your role as an academic and consultant, how do you balance your focus on corporate strategy with your commitment to societal issues such as rural development and good governance and Hinduism? This is from, Hinduism is my thing.
People
Rudra
ask
from
me
Bangalore.
this kind of question, you teach various courses, you're trying to run 4 NGOs, you're writing books, how do you manage? Actually, I feel there is only one mind. Everybody has only one mind. It's where you put it. And for me, personally, there is one common running theme in all the work, literally what Vivekananda said. That runs through everything. So, in the scriptures, they say, whatever they say in the scriptures, let's leave it aside, but they say that Yagnam. So, in the Gita, I will say Yagnam means various things. He has many definitions of Yagnam. Devahitam, Dravyam, some people give their wealth, some people give their prana, some people give their study, some people give their yoga, tapas, various things you offer to God, etc., etc., worship, devotion, all that you offer to God. So I feel, we are privileged, all of us are privileged. We are well off, and by some miracle, God has given me 2 bits of intelligence and some abilities. Use all your abilities for the good of society. That is the Yagnam. If more and more people do that, this country will be... We don't have to tell the world that be proud of me, I am Vishwaguru. The world will come and tell us. You never proclaim yourself as a Vishwaguru. It is only when... So just more and more people has to offer themselves as a Yagnam to the good of society. This is the Vishwarupam, just serve it. So in that case, when the motivation is reasonably clear, your mind starts functioning better.
I'm going to interject one of my questions. In the middle of all this, I'm going to interject my own question. I think the best book ever written is the Mahabharata. Okay, it's a fabulous book, which is in all shades of grey and purple. What commonality is there between the or what can today's democracy learn from the Mahabharata? And what would you avoid from the
Yeah, I'll answer that because I have some views, but I'm honored that you think that I am fit to answer that question. By the way, they say there are 4 Vedas. Some people say the Mahabharata is the 5th Veda. Some people say that the Agama Shastras are the 5th Veda. Some people say the Puranas are the 5th Veda, whatever it is. But Mahabharata is a very sacred text. I think what we should not do, I will mention first. Please don't mind if I say a few things which are slightly critical of the Mahabharata, because I'm not anti-Hindu at all. You see, there could be philosophies behind it, but one of the things that has shaped the way this country runs is what happened during the Draupadi Vastraharanam. When Draupadi was being publicly disrobed, Krishna was not present. She first appeals. She does not appeal to her husband. She has 5 of them. For whatever reason, you have to ask why. She appeals to Bhishma, Drona, all these. Bhishma is grandfather, whatever. And he says, it is very difficult to say what dharma is, what is right or wrong. He refuses to intervene. Now, I'm not getting into the intricacies and subtleties of the Mahabharata. He may have a point, we can go on discussing till the cows come home, but the popular understanding is Bhishma Pitamahas can see public disrobement of a woman and quote the scriptures and keep quiet. If that is how we understood that incident, it's a great disservice. Because I've met lots of wonderful people, lots of retired IAS officers write books and spout wisdom after they retire. They don't do anything when they're in service. They advise others. So advising others and not doing anything and keeping quiet when things are going wrong is something that we should not follow from the Mahabharata. I know I'm being a little too strong on this, but it bothers me, this kind of a thing. Second thing is that the whole thing is, full of dharma. Yudhishthira is dharma. What is dharma, what is to follow the dharma is very strongly mentioned there. And of course, all this thing about, be a hero. We don't have heroes in India. We have cowards. In Telugu, venna mukka ledu means don't have a backbone. Just, no, if I do this I'll get into trouble. People went and got hanged during the independence movement, and the Mahabharata is full of valor and heroism. Draupadi herself is full of valor. We need to stand up and be counted. We can't just roll over in the name of devotion and just follow.
Yeah, but all the heroes die in Mahabharata.
Yes. What is a hero if he or she doesn't take a risk? If you say, I'll be a hero if there is no danger, then what the hell is a hero? What is a hero about it? There has to be something.
So I'll get back to the questions.
In our language, if the girl is to marry a boy, is it Chala Manchivadu Bhayastudu means he's a very good boy. Bhayastudu means he is fearful. Literally, it means. I said, how can that be a virtue? That's the language we use.
What advice do you have for aspiring leaders and activists looking to contribute to democratic reforms in their respective regions? What obstacle would they face, and how do you suggest any safety net to protect themselves? Shirley from Hosur.
Thank you, Shirley. Very good question. I wish I knew again, but here is some thought. You see, whether you're a local political leader or a national political leader, you have to think, how are people going to eventually remember me? Of course, I want to be a leader, I want power, I want all the things that come with it. Fine, that motivates you. Please go into politics, become powerful. But you have to think, how will people eventually remember me? If you think like that, then the whole dynamics changes. If you think I have to just to beat that other guy, I will make some abusive statements or some controversial statement, distribute money, I'll somehow win, and how clever I am because I won, then people will not remember you. Hundreds of people come and go. Try to see what is the work I'll do which will make people remember me. And there are good leaders like that locally and nationally around the world. That is one thing that the leader should think about. Even if it doesn't seem to give immediate political gains.
I think there's one local question. I'm just sort of, it's a long question. There is I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, there is declaring assets by election candidates has become a tamasha. Okay, this person wanted to contest elections. I was upset with the information being sought. I know that this data will be made public in no time. So,
you mean right to privacy versus
right
making
to
it
privacy
public?
by
Yeah, very good question. You see, this is an old debate about my right to privacy versus making things transparent. So the Supreme Court and countries around the world, by the way, have said that if you want to get into public life, if you want to be in political power, you want to be a people's representative, then you have to be a little bit open to making this public. So, I mean, we all know that Nandan Nilekani stood for elections and he had to declare his wealth. I mean, and his wealth might be more than everybody sitting in this room put together, but he had to declare that.
So that's the price of
No, he didn't
wanting
seem to
power.
mind it. He didn't seem, not that anybody made a big song and dance. He got his money in a legitimate and honest way, so what is the problem?
Okay, this question is from Delhi. As an advocate for the right to information campaign, what impact do you believe access to information has had on the overall health of a democratic society? Do you agree that on the overall health of a democratic society, do you agree that at time RTI is abused?
Correct. So anything can be abused. You know, they say in the scriptures that fire can be used to cook food and keep yourself warm, or fire can be used to burn down a house. So RTI can also be abused. But doesn't mean that RTI should go away. Now, you see, the spirit of democracy, we have to understand that the fathers or mothers, we're sitting with a mother here, of the Constitution, they declared Article 19(1)(a), popularly called right to information and technically called the freedom of expression, as a fundamental right. So it is a fundamental right. The Right to Information Act is giving teeth to a fundamental right by passing legislation. And in any democracy, transparency, why do we need right to information? Very simple. All the money in the government, whether Tamil Nadu government or the central government, comes from the people of India, either through the income tax or corporates or whatever it is. The government's 95%, 99% of its revenues belong to the people of India. So people should have a right to know what is happening with that money. How can it be misused means people try to harass the... actually, I am a bit of an RTI activist myself. So some people feel that they ask too many questions, ask questions which are bordering on privacy. So there are some exemptions. I cannot ask under RTI, what is your wealth? That's not allowed. But I can ask how much money was spent on Meenambakam Airport or whatever, now it's called Kamaraj Airport. I can ask, what is wrong? It's public money.
This question is from Namakal. Can you share key challenges you've encountered in advocating for electoral reforms? And how do you believe these challenges can be addressed? This is from Vijay in Namakal.
Yeah, challenges. One is the challenges in the system, and one is the challenges that we face personally in our organization. So I don't know in what spirit he's asking. Of course, one challenge is that we have more or less failed. We wanted to remove criminalization of politics and it has doubled. We wanted to bring greater transparency and now we are fighting in the Supreme Court. So, you know, one step back, two steps forward. So those are challenges. But our view is that War of Independence was supposedly started in 1857, which the British called the Indian Mutiny. Now we call it the First War of 1857. And we got independence in 1947, after 90 years. So we just begun, and we are not the only people, a lot of people. So I don't worry about these challenges. We have to keep at it. At a personal level, of course, we get harassed by the income tax department, and periodically, we get notices. They come and examine it, and then privately they tell us, you are actually doing very good work, but we are under pressure from our bosses to go and needle you. So that kind of thing happens. The Intelligence Bureau, one of my colleagues who is much more on TV than I am, he was on Pegasus list. So that kind of thing will happen. We are all under scrutiny. So when we say take a bit of a risk, I'm not a hero, but I want to be a hero. Let me admit that. You can't say that I will do all this and I should be 100% safe. How is it possible?
So let me come back to your ADR survey again. One of the things that perplexed me, and this is in one of the agricultural districts in Nagpur, they wanted water for agriculture. They wanted free electricity for running their borewell pumps. But they also had drinking water issues because they had used up all the water to grow the wrong crops. Sugarcane. But they also wanted drinking water. So, when you give these top three, this is what I want, this is my wish list to a political leader, that can be very confusing. So how do you suggest the system deal with it? Your opinion.
No. See, there is a role for thinkers, policymakers, and experts. I'm not saying that there's no role. And you can't give, you ask somebody, they'll say, give me free everything. You can't give that. That doesn't matter. So, when, we have to work with the people and say water is limited, sugar is bad for health, sugar cane is a water guzzler, and it is changing the environment. We have to get after that, and our ability to enforce certain rules is very limited because the politicians are afraid of a backlash. Because my rival will say, "Arey, vote for me, yaar, and do whatever you like," and he will win. If I try to do something, there will be a problem for me. This is where it gets stuck.
So to sort of end on a positive note, what gives you hope on the Indian democracy?
Actually, it's the people of India. As I said, I still feel we are in that Manthan stage where first the Halal came and Shiva swallowed it and put it in this. After that, the Amritam came. So we have to we are part of the process. We're just a small drop in the ocean, but that churning is going on in India. And I am very confident because basics of India are very good. The value system, if I may say so, the religion, the family structure. Yes, there are challenges. But one thing I find in India is, I had just gone to my reunion. I was unfortunate to go to an institute called IIT Delhi, and all these guys are highly successful. And 20 guys out of that 59 are highly interested in spirituality. The interest in spirituality, they are done and dusted with the things of the world. People whom you cannot imagine, people who were indulging in everything possible during the hostel and made it big and made big bucks and went all over the world and lived a lavish life, they are interested in this. So there is something in the sacred soil where with the external things, there is the satisfaction comes much faster for a larger number of people, and they seek something behind or beyond the materialism. This is very, very true of this country even now, and I hope we keep like that. That also gives me hope.
The karma bhumi of India.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's a very fascinating evening. Great insights. You could have gone a lot of questions there, but I'm quite sure most of the things you addressed it during your presentation. I think it will be a nice people who studied with you. I think your classmate can join us to present a memento, join us on stage. And also one of us old member, Mr. Venkata, our partner, Venkatesh, you also come. We'll present a memento. What we are giving is a memento, they're all made by children during our CSR work, made by children from the school, children studying in poor schools. This is what there, and this is what we want to present to them. I'm quite sure you'll be really happy to process them in your pride up place, in your place. Books for your reading, nice, challenging. Thank you, gentlemen, and see you tomorrow evening online.